Howdy, folks. I'm a grilled cheese sandwich.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for what I said after my husband commented on my flat chest? My husband Jared and I have been married for 3 years. He is currently out of work. He used to work at a high paying job but got kicked out of the company over a fight with a coworker. And I'm the one paying for rent and utilities. We dedicate some time to see his family weekly. They don't know that he's unemployed because they thought they'll see him as a failure, especially his mom, so he kept telling me to keep it a secret. Well, last night we're sitting and eating at the dinner table. His cousin was talking about his fiancée going to Brazil to get a boob job. Jared asked if he was serious and then flattered her boobs, saying that they were perfect and that he didn't understand why she would need to get a boob job. He then turned to me, stared at my chest while I was eating like an idiot. I have a flat chest and I'm insecure about it, but I can't do anything about it, obviously. And he said, Hey, why don't you get a boob job? You're the one who needs it the most. His mom gasped and was like, Jared. I said, It's fine. I turned to him and said, I'll get a boob job once you get an actual job since you've been unemployed for 6 months now. He stared at me in disbelief. His mom began questioning him about being unemployed, and he denied, and then admitted it was true. It got awkward with his mom scolding him and others shaming him for hiding it. He got so overwhelmed, he went outside and stayed inside the car until I came. He started yelling at me repeatedly, saying you could have held your tongue, and accused me of turning his family against him and having them judge him and shun him. Now he can't even step foot in their house from the shame and guilt. I argued his comment about my chest was insulting, but he said that he was giving me a piece of advice and that there was nothing wrong with him wanting me to look pretty, and that he said what he said I was out of support and out of love and encouragement. But what I did was a complete opposite, and that it was intended to hurt, and I succeeded. He dropped me off at home and then went to stay with his buddies. I called him later thinking that he'd calmed down, but his friend said he didn't want to speak to me and I should give him some space. Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Now the jerk, dump him.
OP, he knows you're insecure about your breast size, and he's cracking jokes about it in front of people on top of that. I think that what he did here was just completely out of line, and I think that this was just really disrespectful of him. And for him to try turning this around and being like, I did this out of love, I did this out of just trying to give you advice, I think is complete nonsense. He knew what he was doing. He knew that he was making a passive remark about you and it's something that you were clearly insecure about. And he doesn't care. You do not go to a gunfight with a knife, and that's what he did. So, that's my thought. But anyhow, OP, take care and good luck. So he got fired for an argument with a coworker and kept it a secret, insulted your body in front of his family, and then tried to spin it as a piece of advice given out of support and encouragement. Yelled at you and asked, quote, you couldn't have held your tongue? Not the jerk. Don't forget that he also told sister-in-law how perfect her breasts were in front of OP and the family. Not just a jerk, but a creepy one too. Yeah, actually that was something that I wanted to mention. There was just a lot of things that went wrong in here. Why would he even do that? That's just so gross and creepy. And OP says, thank you for these points, although I felt like he went too far for telling the family, but it's also the truth. Also, he didn't have an argument with his former coworker, but rather a months-long fight. He told me that I thought his coworker was being unethical, but got told that he, my husband, violated the coworker's privacy to snoop on him, and it resulted in a fight and him getting kicked out of the company. Alright, our next letter is titled Unbelievably, and I do not believe that I have to actually say this title on YouTube. Am I the jerk for reporting my neighbor for making her 8-year-old use a tanning bed? Do we need to read the rest of this one? What do you folks think? Have a hypothesis ready, whether or not you think this is OP is going to be the jerk or not. I'm still not sure whether or not I should feel guilty about this. My next door neighbor is a woman in her late 30s, maybe early 40s, who's a single mother. She has a 10-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. Her kids her entire life. but she tends to live vicariously through her daughter. She constantly talks to me about beauty pageants her daughter is partaking in. A couple of times she said things like Annalise, name change to protect the innocent, is throwing a fit because she doesn't want to practice her speech for Little Miss Louisville, or whatever the pageant is called. She pushes the girl really hard to do pageants, and I am tired of talking to her about it by saying, do you think that Annalise really wants to do these pageants? Maybe you should wait until she's a little older to start her on these. She always just kind of brushes it off. Well, this winter I noticed that Annalise looked pretty orange. I asked my neighbor about it, and she said, oh yeah, we've been using some spray tan on Annalise. She's got to have the right complexion for the spring season. Farmer's Almanac is calling for a long winter, so she won't have much time to get contest ready. I kind of flew off the handle and told her that she ought not to give this girl unrealistic, unnatural tans at this young of an age. She told me not to tell her how to raise her kids. Since then, we haven't talked much beyond pleasantries. Well, yesterday, I reached my breaking point. The poor little girl came over to play with my daughter, and she was as red as a lobster. She told her friend that she got burnt while tanning. I happen to know that my next door neighbor has a tanning bed in her house which she uses. But tanning your child? I don't even think that's legal. The fact that she got burnt shows that it isn't safe. I called Kentucky Bureau of Child Protective Services and filed a complaint. They took down my information and an extensive record of what I saw/knew, and they said it's anonymous, but I'm pretty sure she'll know it's me. I probably should have talked to the mom this morning before calling to confirm the worst, but I was also so mad I wasn't seeing straight. Am I the jerk? Alright, folks, after hearing the story, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
OP, no, you're not the jerk. This is dangerous. There's reasons why laws exist about not letting a kid, someone tan until they turn 18. Generally, that's the law, I believe. That may vary from, jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but I believe that most people will agree that tanning an 8-year-old in a tanning bed is way, way beyond that. It's out there. It's really out there. This is dangerous. Kids are susceptible to, developing skin problems from these kinds of things, and she's putting her child in danger. So, especially if she's actually getting burnt. So, I don't think that you're the jerk here. I think that this is pretty much exactly what the Kentucky's Child Protective Services is designed for, is getting kids out of dangerous situations. And I think that you did the right thing here. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. If forced tanning does not meet the legal definition of abuse, then CPS will not pursue it, and if it does, then it needs to stop and you absolutely did the right thing. And OP says, thank you. Will they pull the girl from the home though, even if she decided to tan herself? I hadn't considered too much if she might have tried to voluntarily do it. Even if this particular incident doesn't rise to the level of actionable abuse, it's still important to report it as to establish a record of past behavior in case the mother escalates. Hopefully CPS showing up will snap her out of the misconception that it's not that bad and set her on a more responsible path. Yeah, I believe that a lot of times the protective services won't immediately act to remove a child from a home unless it's like an immediate, like their life is in danger type of situation. So hopefully this will kind of snap her into the right frame of mind to know that putting your kid into a tanning booth is not good. Not the jerk, it's not your job to investigate claims of abuse. That's CPS jobs. When someone calls, they suspect abuse. Tanning beds are pretty dangerous for anyone under 30 in terms of risk for skin cancer. If that girl's mother gave her a cigarette, would you be questioning your decision much? If not, I don't think that you have anything to worry about. And OP says, that's an interesting example and it does help me feel a little better. Thank you. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverage of choice. Join me in a silly joke. What kind of drink do you have today, Amber?
Mint tea.
Amber has mint, and I have a mysterious tea. If Fortune had a daughter, what would she be called? Misfortune. now. What? Let's throw all the random words we can together until something sticks and it's a joke. Oh my goodness, joke book. And I have mint tea. You can also see a failed Wordle. And our last letter is titled, Am I a jerk for throwing out my brother-in-law's fiancée and saying that her comment was out of line? There is a content warning on this one of lost limbs. I'll start by telling the background story of what happened to my wife and where this left us so my post makes some sense. Some years ago, my wife was injured at her job. My wife didn't cause the situation, but she was the one who was injured. She lost a limb as a result. Her company was under investigation by OSHA, and there was a legal trouble for them because there were major safety violations that led to what was happening to my wife. We took the money my wife received in the aftermath to purchase a home, and with the bit that was left over, we invested it in our retirement as my wife and I were in our 30s when it happened. We are comfortable and have no mortgage, no debt, and our savings, but we aren't living like we have a bottomless pit. Our house is in a mansion. Our vehicles are used. We don't have expensive clothing or unlimited vacations. Both of us still work part-time because we want to keep our resumes current. We don't solely rely on the money that would happen to my wife because it's our nest egg, and frankly, we need something to do besides be at home. What happened to my wife was both traumatic and beyond any words that I have. I love my wife exactly how she is, but both of us agreed that we would trade our house and our nest egg for our old shoebox studio apartment and the debt we had before if it meant my wife could go back to how she was before the injury. The money that we got was not from something happy. We also never bragged or flaunted our money at anyone. Everyone knows why my wife got that money. There was no way to hide the injury. Hospital stays and rehabilitation, but we don't talk about it to anyone, even though what happened is public. Well, my wife's brother got engaged, and we had the two of them over for dinner and drinks. His fiancée had the gall to tell my wife and me how lucky she was to have the accident because she got the money to be able to afford a house in an expensive market. She further told her that she would gladly chop off her own limb, the same limb my wife was missing, to have a free house and not have to go to work every day. I told her to leave the house because her comment was so out of line for me. My brother-in-law got mad at me for sticking my nose in a family argument, and later I got angry call from my in-laws because he told them that I threw them out. He did not tell them why, but I repeated his comment and they said the same thing my brother-in-law said, which was she was probably just nervous and not thinking straight, and since affording a house here was impossible for her, envy is understandable. My brother-in-law wants me to apologize. The only one of my in-laws who isn't mad at me is my wife's oldest brother. My wife has two brothers, and birth order is the oldest brother, engaged brother, and my wife. So, was I the jerk for getting involved with my wife's familial dispute? Normally I wouldn't have, but in the heat of the moment, I saw red. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
I'm gonna say that OP is not the jerk in this situation. You were standing up for your wife. What she said was insensitive and mean-spirited, and it doesn't matter if it came out of a place of envy or not, or that she was nervous, or any other excuse that you can throw out here. It was still extraordinarily inappropriate. So no, you're not the jerk for standing up for your wife, and everyone else is acting extraordinarily unreasonable if they're sticking up for the brothers whose fiance said this horrible thing. So no, not the jerk. Not the jerk, the dispute did involve you. We see so many posts on here where the verdict goes the other way because the partner didn't step up and defend the other. You love your wife and you're both very realistic about what transpired. What the fiance said was tacky, disrespectful, and lightly cruel. Honestly, I'm currently not working because of an injury, and I've had so many people say that must be nice. And it's like, oh yeah, it's so nice being in constant pain and needing pain medicine to have any chance at sleep. I'd love and give anything to be a physically normal human again that has to go to work. I choose that over my injured life any day. It makes me so sad to see so many people not defending their partners. If you start insulting my partner, you better believe I'm coming to their defense. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like, and if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
What? You have a problem with grilled cheese sandwiches?